The last question says a teacher is designing a program to process pseudocode projects written by her students. Right, each student project is stored in a text file. The process is split into a number of stages. Each stage performs a different task, and creates a new file. Right, so for example, we have this source file, right, S1, S2. So the source file, that's the student project, right, produced by this student. Well then, yeah, S1, right, is the stage 1 file, S2, the stage 2 file. Right, suggest a reason why the teacher's program has been split into a number of stages and give the benefit of producing a different file from each stage. So I guess for this one, I mean, you can probably say, like, if they have multiple stages, well, then you can see like which stage is working, which stage is not working. So it's going to be easier to debug. So let's say I guess the reason is to see output. I mean, to see the output from each individual stage. And like I don't know. I mean, to me, like the reason for doing something and the benefit of doing something. I mean, like to me, that just means the same thing. But anyway, so I think here let's say to see the output of each stage. I guess we can say kind of like independently. Or like individually. Yeah, I mean, I think that's. And then let's say the benefit. I mean, so to make debugging easier. Yeah, right, so to make debugging easier, right, since we can see what stage is not working. Right, let's say, what stage is not working, right, and the problem. Let's say, and the problem, right, let's say the problems in the output. I mean, so you can kind of think, I mean, this is basically decomposition, right? Rather than just having, one big output at the end, you're sort of decomposing the output into multiple stages. Right, then the teacher has defined the first program module as follows: DeleteSpaces, that's called with a parameter of type string representing a line of pseudocode from a student's project file. Right, then it's going to return the line after removing any leading space characters, and right, the following example shows a string before and after the leading spaces have been removed. So I think if we think about this one, I mean, this is actually easier. I would say this is easier than some of the other questions. And I mean, it's actually quite similar in some ways. But, we just want to like loop through, let's say, until we see something that's not a space. Then when we see something that's not a space, well, here we could either use mid, right, or we could use right. So let's think of a simple example. Maybe we have like two spaces right then, let's say A, B, C. Okay, let's go maybe 5 characters like that. So here then, well, the first character that's not a space, that's going to be character 3. And then we want to think, well, how can we get all of these remaining characters? So, I mean, the length of this is going to be 7. And then if we're using mid, well, mid we want to start at 3, right? And then we want to get 5 characters. So the way we can kind of calculate 5 from this is, well, we think the length, right? So the length is going to be 7. Right, that's going to be minus the starting position, so 7 minus 3, right, that's going to be 4. Right, but then we want to go plus 1, and then this will give us the 5. So here we're saying, well, mid, right, we're starting at 3, and then, well, the number of characters we want to get is going to be according to this calculation. And I think, like, if you were just using right, then to just use right, well, basically you would just do this, right? So right, and then of this, and of course taking in the line as well as the first parameter. So let's try and code this, and for this question, well, you can go here to the exam questions, because this does actually require this pre-written module, and this was actually from paper 21, right? If people have had a look at this. Right, so let's go function, and what this is going to be called DeleteSpaces. Or I think DeleteSpaces, right, that's going to take the line as a parameter, that's going to be of type string, and here let's just go returns, and right, that's also going to return a string. Right, I'm just going to end function, right, just so I don't forget. Then let's think again about the variables we need, right, the local variables. So one is going to be the index, right, that's going to be an integer, and I think that's all we need actually. Right, then let's just loop. So let's go, what index, that will start at 1. Right, let's go 2. And to be honest, I mean, they do actually often like us to use a while loop for these. Like, I'm not sure why, because, you know, in reality, you should be able to return from a for loop. And then, of course, well, when you return, like, that's going to return from the entire function. But yeah, I mean, so look, we can do it with a for loop, right? Or if we like their style, we can just go while. But if we go while, of course, then we'd actually need to initialize the index here. So, right, the index is going to be 1. And let's say while the, so I mean, we can use mid, right, to get the current character. So, right, let's go, okay, wait, not title, it's line. Right, then what we want to say, so we're starting at this index position, right, then we're getting 1. Right, and let's say, well, while this is equal to the, while this is equal to a space. Right, and let's also go and, because we need to check the index should also be less than the length of the line. Right, so yeah, while the length of line, okay, yeah, let's go index, right, is less than, yeah, okay, I mean, yeah, let's go less than or equal to. And to be honest, you know, this is why I don't really like using while, because honestly, while is a bit more complex. Right, and then what we want to do, so, well, I mean, like, while, okay, so, I mean, here we can say, well, while the current character is equal to a space, well, of course, then we just want to increment the index. And I mean, yeah, that's going to be all we need to do. And then when we get to the end, well, here we can just return, because this should have calculated the position that's obviously, yeah, the first non-space, effectively. So let's just go return, and like we've said, we want to get line. Right, then we're going to start at the, we're going to start at the index. And then what we want to do, we want to go to the length of line. Right, then it's going to be minus the index and then plus 1. And yeah, I think hopefully that should work. So let's just test this with an example. We'll go, right, delete spaces. And let's just go maybe 3 spaces. Okay, right, 3 spaces. Let's go output A plus B. Yeah, see if this works. And yeah, okay, alright, so here there's no space. I mean, let's also try a line that has like no spaces like that, right, just to make sure this works. Let's just clear it just to, yeah, make sure. And yeah, okay, so this is also working with no spaces. And alright, I mean, here they actually did give us the function header. Then it says 2 modules are defined: delete comment, which is called with a parameter of type string, representing a line of pseudocode from a student's project file. This will also return the line after removing any comment. And yeah, this one's already been written, and if of course you use the starter code that I provide, then yeah, this is obviously included in that starter code. Right, then stage 2, that's called with 2 parameters: a string representing an input file name, a string representing an output file name. It's going to copy each line from the input file to the existing output file, having first removed all leading spaces and comments from that line. So of course, while just calling the delete spaces and delete comments. Yeah, those functions. Right, then then does not write blank lines to the output file. And it's going to output a final message giving the number of blank lines removed. Okay. Right, so yeah, just write pseudocode for stage 2, and then, well, yeah, modules delete comment, delete spaces must be used. Right, so let's think then, I mean, is this going to be a functional procedure? I mean, here there's no return, okay, we're just going to be outputting. So because there's no return, well, therefore it's going to be a procedure. Right, so let's go procedure, and this is, stage 2. Right, this will take, let's say, the input file name. Right, so it's going to take the output file name. Right, both of those are going to be type string, and okay, well, here it's a procedure, so we're not returning anything. Right, so let's think about the variables we need. Now, one is going to be a count of the blank lines. So let's go, yeah, count blank lines. Right, that's going to be integer. And I guess we also, I mean, if we're reading a file, well, then we also need a line variable. And yeah, this is where we'll store the current line that we've just read. And again, I think that's all we need, but I'll leave spaces, right, just in case we need to go back and add more. Right, then let's go open file, and I guess we want to open the input file. And then we want to think about the mode. So the mode here is going to be read, because we're copying this and then we're writing it to the output file name. Right, then let's go output file name. And I think, if we just check this actually, because here it actually says, well, we should write to the existing file. So what that's saying is, well, we're not really using the write file mode. Okay, we're going to be appending. So yeah, this is going to be right for append. Right, then what do we want to do? I guess, yeah, I think now then we can just, well, okay, let's just initialize this to 0. And then let's just loop through the input file name. Right, so yeah, just reading line by line. So to read a file, well, let's go while not end of file. This will take an input file name as the parameter. Right, I'm just going to get end while again, yeah, just so I don't forget. Right, and then so I suppose here we can just read the line, or well, so read file. That's going to take input file name. Right, it also has line. So of course, what this is saying, it's saying, well, yeah, read, write this file, and then yeah, that line, we're going to store it in this line variable. Right, so then what we want to do, well, we just want to delete the comments. So let's go delete comment, and then of course here we could just go line, but since DeleteSpaces also returns a string, then we can actually have both of them together like this, because of course, yeah, this is going to return a string, right, and then delete comment also takes a string, yeah, as a parameter. Right, then we want to check what is the line, sort of empty or not. So of course we can go, well, if line is equal to, let's say just empty. Well, here what we want to do, we want to just increment the blank lines. But I think I'm just going to invert that logic, because we can probably say, well, most lines probably won't be empty. So let's say, yeah, if the line is not empty, well, then what we want to do, and yeah, let's just make the else and end if. Right, so if the line is not empty, well, then we just want to basically append this to the file. So let's go write file, that's going to be the output file name. Right, and then the line that we want to, well, the variable we want to append is this line. And then, so let's say here, so this means, well, if the line is empty, then we're just going to increment this count blank lines. And of course, so we can just use this directly with the not equals operator. Another way we can do it, of course, is we can use length. So if we say what length of line, right, if this is greater than 0, well, then of course it means, yeah, the line is not empty. And I think that's all we really need. Of course, let's make sure just to close the file, well, close both of them. And then what it says, we just want to output. So we want to output a count, so maybe let's say number of blank lines removed. Yeah, just give them a suitable message. Right, and then that's going to be a count of the blank lines. And if I was doing the real exam, of course, I would read this again, right, just make sure I've got everything. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's correct. Right, then if we just call this, so since it's a procedure, well, let's go stage 2. Right, let's say the input file name, well, that can be this file we've just got here. Okay, yeah, right, this one. So I think you can see earlier, right, when I was testing it, yeah, that was the output I already had. Right, then here, well, we want the output file name, so let's actually just copy this, and since this is stage 2, well, let's just call it with S2. Now, of course, like in the exam, we don't need this, but yeah, just to test it. Right, so it says number of blank lines removed 19. Yeah, probably that's correct. And then if we see here, well, here's the original file, right? We've got the comments. Of course, we've got these, yeah, leading spaces. Whereas if we look here, well, right, we've got no comments, we've got no leading spaces. So yeah, I think this seems to be working. Right, guys, as always then, if you've got any questions about this, right, well, just ask in the comments. And yeah, if the video is useful, then see you again in the next video.